Good evening, everybody. Welcome to your weekly Academy Q&A. Hope you're all well. Just going to adjust my camera slightly. So 3 questions that have come in today. I just want to really emphasize before answering these questions how important this type of Q&A is. During COVID, many of you know the story of my income, our events business going to zero, presenting an event at the Holiday Inn in Bloomsbury, getting told that we then couldn't do any live events, and not really knowing what to do. And there's a particular mastermind that I was in, and I talk about having a mentor and a coach and being in a mastermind was really, really critical. But actually, one of the tactical elements that really got me through was the fact that every week I could send a question to my mentor on anything and he would answer. And there was a period for about 6 months where I literally asked him a question every week. It became like a joke where he was like, "Oh, here's Miles, our resident question and answer king. He's got a question again this week. Love, Miles, that you ask a question every week. It's going to help you succeed." So the fact is, there is, more than a couple of dozen of you here in the Academy, and I've only got 3 questions. And I think what I want to do is I want to kind of set the intention that every single time I do a Q&A, you just ask a question as random. Miles, I'm feeling a bit low today. What would you do if you were me? Miles, not really sure about this. What would you do? Just think, if I could have a really powerful question to ask Miles today, what would it be? And just don't waste the opportunity to have a question answered, because the answers that I'm giving you are things that have come from my mentors who are doing multi millions of pounds in the coaching training space. And I'm just modeling what works. So I'm literally inhaling what the mind of millionaire mentors are doing. So you're getting that through me. So just make sure in these Q&As that you do ask a question, because I've only had 3 this week. And frankly, the mastermind I'm in, it's literally my mentor is on for an hour and a half asking questions, because everybody sees that as such a vital thing to do. So make sure from now on that you do ask a question. So just want to make sure that you do. So I'm going to answer the questions that have come in. I'm going to try and answer them as succinctly as possible. What I will say is, when you write your question in, know that have a look at the way you've worded it before you send it in, because sometimes questions get put in and they're not worded in the best way, which means that I know that you're not probably going to get the best answer. So it's really important that you ask the question in as specific a way as possible, because then that's going to help me ensure that you get the actual answer that you want. So Jan has said, question for the Q&A. He said, who do I catch up with unanswered DMs and when? So I think I understand the question. I think what Jan is asking is, what do I do about people that have not replied to my DM? And if so, when do I reply? That's really important, Jan, that before you send your question in, just make sure you just look at it and go, is that worded as well as it could be, right? Because I want to make sure that I answer it the way, but I think I get the gist of the question. So I think Jan is asking, when people don't respond to a DM, a voice message, what should I do? So here's what I do. Firstly, let me tell you a story. Many years ago, when I was heavily in Miles More Members, there was a gym that I wanted to get hold of the CEO. Incidentally, his name was also Jam Spataccia. And one day I got a call. I was around at my friend Dan's house and I got a call out of the blue, and I answered the phone, and it was his PA, Vicky. He said, "Hi, Miles, it's Vicky here, PA of Jan from Energy. I've got him on the line. He'd like to speak to you." So I'm all excited. I'm like, I can't wait. I've been wanting to speak to this guy for ages. I've been trying to reach out. I've been messaging him. I sent him Valentine's cards, all kind of wacky marketing to get hold of him. And then he answers, "Hi, Miles. This is Jan here. Listen, I'm going to cut to the chase. This is not a friendly call. Could you stop trying to contact me, please? Because it's kind of verging on stalking." I'm gutted, because I thought this was I'm in. And instead, he's messaging me, kind of calling to say, "Can I stop?" reaching out. To which I quickly went into what felt really natural to me, being in sales for quite a number of years, which was, Jan, I'm really, really sorry. It was not my intention to seem pestering or anything like that. Actually, the reason why I was reaching out is because I went into one of your gyms, and I've been in sales for a long time. You've known one of my mentors in the industry, and I went in one of your gyms, and there was something about the member experience when I walked into the door that I thought, I know I could do it better. And I know, more importantly, I could train your team to do it better. And what I was actually looking to do was arrange for me to go and deliver a workshop for a half a day in that club, free of charge. And all I ask is if it's good, that at the very minimum, you would give me an endorsement. But what I would really love to do is, if it's really good, is I'd love to potentially discuss the idea of me training across all your clubs on what it is that I do, which is about retention of members and all that stuff. So that was my intention. And the reason why I kept trying to contact you is because I hadn't heard from you. So I didn't actually know whether you were getting my messages, because you're a CEO of a multinational company. I didn't know if you were getting my messages or not. Do you know what, Miles? Firstly, I just want to apologize, actually, because I realize I've misread here. You trying to get hold of me. He went, that's exactly how I told my team to work. Be persistent. Unless you get a no, it's not no. I'm really sorry, actually. I've not thought about it the way that I train the team. Are you free next Wednesday for coffee? True story. Went to the office, had a meeting, sat down, delivered the workshop, and that turned into a multi-thousand-pound project in his franchise of gyms. So really, the answer to your question, Jan, is there is no right or wrong. The wrong is to not send anything back. Here's what most rookie coaches do that go through this process. Most rookie coaches have a very high fear of rejection. And here's what you need to know. We all have a fear of rejection. So what you've got to do is park your fear of rejection and focus on the fact that you delivering a great coaching call to a person could make a real difference in their life. So until they tell you stop sending me messages, if there is no response, keep messaging them. Now, if you said to me, well, could you be more specific? Well, if you've done a DM voice message and you've had no reply for 72 hours, then I'd send a text message back saying, with swiping in the audio and saying, hey, Steve, just seeing, did you get my audio message, ? Then what I would do is 72 hours later, if there's no reply, I would message again ... without saying anything else. And I would keep doing ... until about 9 attempts. After 9 attempts, I'm just assuming that it's either not getting through, it's being ignored, life is too busy for them to reply. After 9 attempts, then I'll leave it. Now you may go, shit, 9, that's a lot. It is. But if you look at the statistics online, it can say that it can take up to 9 attempts to get a person to respond. Now, you may in your head go, 9? Oh, that sounds a lot. Well, here's the thing. If you wouldn't respond to a person in that way, then that means that reflects that it's going to feel difficult for you to want to communicate in that way. When I was chasing Jan, it was because I knew I could help. So you know that the movie trailer is good, and that's what you need to focus on. So just keep going until you get a response. And just remember, until you get no, I'm not interested, assume that they've just not read it, that they're busy, that their dog's died. And I'm not being offensive, but I'm just saying it's amazing how many people message me after 7 messages and say, shit, I'm really sorry. This has happened. My business closed. My nan was ill. And they say, and I heard your message, and actually I really did want the call. I heard it, but then I didn't reply because life got busy and I just forgot. But now that you've sent it, now that you've reminded me of it, and you bumped back up to then I would love to. How about next week? Yeah, so you've got to be persistent. Remember, until they say, no, I'm not interested, assume that they are amber until they tell you they're red. Yeah. So Focus on the fact that you can serve and make a difference. If you're getting no responses, that does not mean no. It's really important that you know that that does not mean no until they tell you no. All right. It's really, really important. Until it's no, it's not no. Okay. Assume it is just they haven't seen the message yet. Nan's ill, dog's died. Think of it like in a positive way, like they're not ignoring you. Life's just got in the way. Yeah. Most people generally are pretty human and will, let's be honest, if you do 7 and you get no reply, if it was me and I didn't want it, I would tell you no, just so you stop messaging me. If I'm not replying, assume it's because I haven't seen it. Jan, I hope that helps, brother. Hillary says, for accountability, okay, question, here we go, sorry. What's the best way to present yourself on social media? And then she said a second question, what is the best way to practice for social media? So so I'm just going to answer this. There's many different ways I can answer this, Hillary, but I'm going to start with the second bit because you're talking about recording. So I'm assuming you mean video. In the beginning, before live streaming, I used to record on my phone and then upload to social media. And those videos, most of those early videos were terrible. Do you know why? Because when you're recording, you have an out. So what that means, Hillary, is if you record a video that no one is seeing, you have an out. You can stop and you can stop recording. If you go live, your brain is forced to think on its feet because you know you can't stop because there might be someone watching. Yeah. So my recommendation is that you don't practice, you just go live. Now, there is training that I can recommend to you to make you become better, kind of like how when you learn to drive, you need an instructor in the beginning. So that is a separate thing. If you want to talk about how to train you to public speak on camera, that's a completely separate thing we can have a conversation about. But imperfect action will beat perfect in action every time. My best videos now are when I just record live on the spot, live stream without thinking about it. So the worst thing that you can do is record and practice, Hillary. No practice. Use if you remember in the free training, the framework of what to say, use that, go live and just trust. But the most important thing for you to do, actually the best thing that you should do, which is above everything that I've just said, is you've got to be in a great state. If you try and record a video in the state that you're already in, it won't work as well as if you, before I do any video, I always make sure I'm in a great state. So go for a walk, go for a run, do your video on a walk, do your video on a run, do the energizer, do it for a couple of minutes and then click live. That will be the best state for you to do a video in your heart instead of your head. Most rookie coaches, the biggest problem they have with doing live video, you can see they're in their head, thinking about the words. You don't think about the words when you're having a conversation with a friend because you're in a good state. So you've got to be in a great state to record video. Really important. When I go live on our workshops, I'm not thinking about what to say. I have some notes to kind of bullet point and just keep me going. But if I click on a slide, I don't know what I'm going to say, but it's always in line with where the workshop needs to go and where I need to lead the audience because I'm in state. So being in state is the best advice I can give you for social media, Hillary. It is like, you guys are going to hear me for the next 12 months. You're going to I'm literally going to brainwash you into just, Miles is just like state. Sometimes I'm going to refuse to talk to you about marketing things because I'll go, unless you're a 9 or a 10 out of 10 with state, forget going on social media, forget doing video. Because if you go on video and you're out of state, you're instantly diminishing the perception that people will have as you as a coach. So get mastering state before you go live, get yourself in state and then go live. And what I would say, Hillary, is record a video like tomorrow, today, this week, send it to me and I'll critique it for you. Use the framework that you know of, which is like position the audience, talk to the problem, promise to solve it with a tip, position you, call to action. Use that framework. If you don't have it, post in the group and I'll send you the screenshot of that. but get in state, do a video using those points, send it to me, but make sure that you're in really good state. Because I've said this to people before, and they've like, hi, yeah, if you're and I'm like, you're not in state, so it's pointless, because you've got the points, but you're not in state. So that's not for you, Hillary. That's just for other people that maybe record video without being in state. So the framework is important, but it's like 20%. 80% is state. So make sure you're in a great state beforehand. And then last question comes in from Tracy. Tracy said, I feel I've lost my momentum due to exams and a few life issues cropping up. What do you suggest to do to get back on track quickly? And is there a quick motivating recap I can watch? Sorry if this is late. So Tracy, what I would say is, first and foremost, it just goes back to what I've just said about Hillary, state. So I'm going to make the assumption, a little bit of a mind read here, that when you sent that message, you probably weren't in a peak state. So that first is the problem, because generally that type of language suggests that you're not in a great state. I feel I've lost my momentum, right? Interestingly enough, it's amazing how if I have a, like this morning, I felt a little pang of anxiety. Sometimes it just happens. So what I did is I went and sat and did 5 minutes of tapping, emotional freedom technique, tapping. And 5 minutes later, my anxiety score was probably about a 7 out of 10, and it dropped to like a 2. So sometimes we are in our head. Tony Robbins says, when you're in your head, you're dead, and we're overthinking stuff. So if you're in a great state, all of a sudden you can think, well, actually, I haven't lost momentum. I've just dropped out of state. So I believe, knowing that we had a conversation about this in coaching last week, that you haven't lost momentum. You just, at the moment that you sent that message, you weren't in state. Exams, life issues cropping up. That's why it's so important to be in state. Because if you're not in state and life happens, which it will, people are going to get ill, people are going to piss you off, things are going to happen that you don't expect. It will be easier to deal with those things when you're in state. If you're not in state, life is just going to feel fucking hard, right? So you've got to manage your state, Tracy. So I'm going to set a challenge to you, Tracy, to be really radically honest with yourself and go, last 7 days, how would you rate your state on average? You've got to be really, really radically honest with yourself. And then I want you to go, what could I do to be 1 point better? And that leads into the next thing that you said about, what do I do to get back on track quickly? Well, here's an interesting thing. I had a meeting with my business partner this morning. And whenever we have a meeting, what's really cool about our meetings is we have 3 or 4 things to talk about, invariably. And what we do on every meeting is those 3 or 4 things we say, right, we have to have decided what is 1 point better in each of those 3 or 4 areas that we could actually implement on this session. So for example, we were talking earlier, we were having a conversation about finance and accounting. And on our meeting, I sent a voice message to someone about that. So instantly we'd shifted that forward. We then wanted to have we had a conversation about we're currently looking at hiring someone to help Ream with our member experience, so that you in the academy can get easier access to the solutions and the answers that you need, because I'm not always available and Ream's not always available. So we had a conversation about that. I sent another voice message out to someone else, and that moves that 1 point better. So sometimes, Tracy, the answer to your question is go, right, in this moment, what is one thing that I could do right now? One incremental thing after putting myself in a great state. That's really important. That's got to come first. After putting myself in a great state, what is one thing that I could do to make myself 1 point better? I could send a voice message. I could ask the question to Miles. I could shoot a quick Facebook Live video, Hillary. I could get myself in state and do DM100 for half an hour, right? I've got the training of Miles delivering it. I could literally watch that live, get somebody in the academy, and we could buddy up and do it together. So sometimes we forget that, great saying I love, progress equals happiness. Even if you're not where you want to be yet, as long as you feel like you're on the road, you will feel like you're making progress. This is for everybody's benefit. Don't overcomplicate progress. This cliche of life is a journey, not a destination. It's a cliche for a reason. The belief that you will get to a point in your life and everything will be instantly fixed is an illusion. Do you know what most people's biggest problem is? That they think they shouldn't have any problems. So face the fact that you are, Tracy, now you're reaching up for a higher quality of problem. We have new problems in our business all the time. Like I've got VAT challenges and tax challenges and staff challenges. 2 or 3 years ago, I didn't have any of that. It was just me coaching by myself. Now I've got a team, got to manage their well-being, their minds, make sure that they're doing okay, that they're happy. 2 years ago, I wasn't a father. I didn't have to manage that. Managing being a husband and now being a father at the same time. Didn't have to manage any of that. Didn't have an academy. So many things, right? And it'd be very easy to go, oh my God, this is stressful. But when I look back, it was just a couple of years ago. It was a dream that I was desperate to manifest. But to get now into the illusion and the trap of thinking that I've arrived, what that does is that stops you growing. And the point of life is not to eliminate challenges. It's to create new ones, better quality ones. It's to raise our standards. It's to continually grow. So keep growing, keep learning, keep moving forward, keep managing your state, keep working on yourself every single day. But above all else, this is for everybody, manage your state. It is the number one thing that will see you be successful this year. My whole life and business changed when I reduced the amount of time I spent getting new information and went, do you know what I'm going to do? For the next year, all I'm going to do is work on my state. I'm just going to every few hours do something to stimulate my physiology, activate my energetic nervous system, reduce the stress in my body, meditation, yoga, jumping around, exercise, anything I can to manage my state. State is everything. Emotion, as Tony says, is created by motion. So the things that you think are stressing you out in a great state probably won't be anywhere near as stressful. So really, really crucial that you manage your state. That's it for today's Q&A. I hope you've enjoyed it. Like I said, make sure I want to see more questions. I want to have at least 70% of you in the academy on our next Q&A in 2 weeks have asked a question, because it's an opportunity for you to get guidance, mentoring from me every single fortnight. So do not miss the opportunity to do that. Other than that, have a great evening. And we've got another week here in Lisbon. Look forward to seeing you for Academy next Wednesday. Make sure that you are blocked out in your diary for that. It's going to be a full-on day. I'll see you next week. God bless. Have a good evening. See you soon.